Good morning, Mayor Trevor Elkins here. You are getting me in from my home office this morning. I'm doing some work from home. I've got a little business to take care of here, personal business as well as professional. But last night's council meeting, unfortunately, we could not get the cameras to function correctly, so we were unable to broadcast that live. So what I'm going to do is kind of do my best to quickly go through the agenda and kind of share what we talked about at the February 4th, 2025 council meeting for the Village of Newburgh Heights. I'm not going to spend too much time, maybe 20 minutes, kind of walking you through this agenda. Obviously, we called the meeting to order a little bit late, about 6:10, because we were trying to get things to function from a technical side. Unfortunately, that wasn't possible, but we did start the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance, which is what we always do. And then we went on and unfortunately shared some sad news and took a moment of silence in the passing of resident Annette Gilkowski, as well as Mr. Tom Vavrick. In addition, former police officers Monk and Bittner, their daughter Addie, unfortunately did pass at a very young age due to complications from cancer. So we took a moment of silence and expressed our condolences to those families and shared our sympathies in whatever way we could silently. We then received a very interesting and informative presentation from Janice Phillips. I'm reading, so if you see me looking off to my right, I'm actually reading directly from the agenda so I don't miss anything. Ms. Janice Phillips of the Cuyahoga County Department of Developmental Disabilities. They shared some initiatives for us about some of the things that they do for Cuyahoga County residents, including roughly a dozen, slightly more residents in Newburgh Heights. But if you do know any individuals that are in Newburgh Heights that maybe have disabilities that aren't currently utilizing county assistance and programs to help them try and live their best life, reach out and we'll do our best to connect you to the appropriate individual at the county to get some of those resources and help you with that project. We then moved on and council approved the January 27, 2025 Committee of the Whole meeting minutes. They did that unanimously. There was a meeting that was held as the Committee of the Whole. All 5 members of council attended and worked on addressing some of their business and issues as it related to the Village of Newburgh Heights for 2025. Let's see. We then moved on to legislation. At that point, we had a piece of legislation that was actually introduced in the January meeting, the end of the month in January. We introduced legislation to increase the pay rate for the athletic director. We were informed that at some point this year, Mr. Edelberg does intend to retire, so he essentially asked that we not increase his pay rate for this year. Council tabled that legislation as part of that request and to honor that request. So at some point this year, we will be looking at exploring who our recreation / athletic director will be moving forward. Until then, Mr. Edelberg will continue to do the excellent job that he always does. Next piece of legislation was a piece that allowed the village to continue using the city of Strongsville jail for prisoner housing. They increased their rates, and as such, we had to adopt a new contract with them to honor those rates so that we could continue to house individuals that needed to be transported from here to a facility that wasn't the county facility for prisoner housing. We're only allowed, we have several cells here in the village, but the maximum amount of time we can keep an inmate or a person accused until their adjudication process begins is 6 hours, and then we have to transfer them to a different type of facility that requires doctor constant supervision, things like that. That was adopted unanimously. There was no issue with conducting that or having that piece of legislation passed. That was ordinance 2025-15. The next piece of legislation in front of us was ordinance 2025-16, which allowed and changed the definition of an hours worked. In the past, there was a quirky change to the personnel policy manual last year that allowed individuals that were taking sick time to earn sick time and thus create this kind of perpetual bank, even though they weren't actually working. So that language was cleared up and solved that quirk. So individuals were essentially, they're not gaining sick time for taking sick time. But that was cleaned up. Doesn't happen often, and it really isn't. It's just something like the auditors are going to want to see us make sure that's officially on record, cleaned up and clarified. So we did that. That was adopted. Council adopted ordinance resolution 25-01. That actually is, they established every year by law, council is required to establish something called rules of council, and that's the conduct with which they must follow and council must follow to conduct business. So there was a couple of small updates, but that was updated, and they did officially adopt the rules for 2025. Resolution 2502 allowed the village to enter into an agreement for engineering services with OHM. Again, for this year, we've been using OHM very successfully for a number of years, and their contract was due for renewal. We did renew that for a year. We actually have to follow a process. I believe it's every 2 years where we notify the public that we're accepting bids, and we notify the engineering firms we're accepting bids. OHM, again, was determined to be the best option for the village, so we did that. And then Resolution 25-03 was accepting a roughly $5,000 grant from NOPEC to, we use these grant monies to do things for energy efficiency. One of the things we used the grant for last year was to for automatic blinds in the council chambers, which allowed us in the summertime to close the blinds and help keep the facility cooler so the AC isn't constantly running. So that's one of the things we've used those funds for. We've used them for insulation in certain rooms that didn't have insulation, things like that, things that help improve energy efficiency. So we did accept that grant last night, and council is actively pursuing and investigating different things that may qualify for use of those funds. We then moved on to committee report or council reports and department head reports. Very quickly, Councilwoman Cray noted the schedule of events that has been put out for the village, and if anybody wants to volunteer or participate, please reach out to the council. The number is 641-2123. It'll go right. Make sure you leave your name and a callback number with what you may be interested in. Councilman Moran highlighted a successful village rehab project. There was essentially a vacant brick double at the end of East 53rd Street and Brow Avenue. A few years back, we were able to take this property, acquire it for a very, very affordable rate. I think the number might have been $20,000. And the CIC put it out for bid. The winning bidder was able to acquire the property. The deal would be we would give them the property. They would rehab the property and then turn it into a single family home. And at that point, they could lease it out for a period of time as long as it was on a contract to buy situation. That's what's happened. We had the opportunity to tour that. Mr. Moran was very, very impressed, as was I, and it is a solid home at this point that is occupied by a wonderful new family that moved into the village a couple years ago. But it is occupied, and it is being used again as a single family home as opposed to a rental property that was a double and had been vacant probably for nearly 10 years. Mr. Dunman pointed out and noted several construction projects, the East 26 sewer separation, the ongoing East 20s, 29th, 27th, etc. Project for, sewers, water lines, things like that. That is ongoing. We expect that to wrap up in the spring at some point. We're really pushing hard on this. The delay has been predominantly caused and triggered by the gas company kind of being a late addition to the project after we began to realize how badly decayed the gas lines were. We did try to get them out in front. They had no interest, and it wasn't until a number of pretty serious issues were identified that they came in and replaced the gas lines, really pushing the project back about 8 weeks, which has caused us to go into the winter. Of course, the bad weather has made it worse, and we're not looking at any real movement here, at least for another couple weeks, until we can get the freezing temperatures at night to be 28 and above. He also pointed out and noted the village is in an excellent financial position. I will add to that and say that we were very pleased at how we finished the year, particularly considering we were able to ramp up staffing in all of our departments, weather some pretty severe unexpected invoices and expenses that we were unaware of and hadn't been informed of until early in the year, or even in mid into the year, where we expended about $750,000 in unplanned expenses. We were able to weather that, still come out in the black, and this year looks really pretty positive. Councilwoman Gersh, she noted she had met with First Tee, and they are working through some collaboration and dates and things they want to work on, the village wants to work on together with regard to community events and functions, and that is kind of a to be determined status at this point. Councilwoman Grayora pointed out that she had an excellent meeting and has already helped an individual with their taxes. This is for seniors that are 70 and older and having difficulty paying their property taxes. You can actually reach out to Councilwoman Grayora at 216-641-2123, which is the council's number. She may be able to help you and point you in the right direction, if not actually assist you in that process. You can, again, call her 216-641-2123. She can guide you, if not assist you but with a meeting. And it's not a simple meeting, but probably you're going to need about an hour of time, but reach out to her. She can help you. I pointed out in my report that the budget is finalized. We've got several projects we're working on. Some of you may have noticed that there was a news story as well as some reporting and a public notification about a public comment session in the Garfield Heights Municipal Court on Monday. The Garfield Heights Municipal Court is in desperate need of a new building. The building is really, really bad shape. They've had to cancel court repeatedly. They have heating issues. They have cooling issues. They're having fire alarm issues. They're having flooding issues. The pipes are bursting. The roof is leaking. It's pretty bad. And they're looking for options and or comments about what to do next. One of the considerations is that potentially the Garfield Heights Municipal Court would become the Newburgh Heights Municipal Court, and we would service all of the 8 communities of the court. Those communities are Brecksville, Independence, Walton Hills, Valley View, Newburgh Heights, Cauga Heights, Maple Heights, and Garfield Heights. We would become the new Garfield Municipal Court, so it would be Newburgh Heights Municipal Court. That requires an act of the state legislature and, of course, approval from the court, the Garfield Heights City Council, as well as the Newburgh Heights Village Council. As it is right now, Newburgh Heights pays about 80% of the cost of the court because we have the highest volume as a result of our photo enforcement program and how aggressive we are with trying to address the problem of speeders. So we're paying about 80% of the court. Right now, it's just in the exploratory phase. Conversations are ongoing, but it is a possibility. And if the decision is made to move to Newburgh Heights, it likely will be done in the next month or so. And we will be full steam ahead, ideally being in a situation to have financing in place for a new court along Harvard Avenue and a shovel in the ground, ideally early next year. So that's a big part of what I gave. There is a CIC meeting coming up February 11th. And then it's kind of where we are. We're working, continuing to, hire. We are looking to hire a couple firefighters. We are looking to hire at least one police officer. And then there is an opening still in the service department. We have yet to determine whether or not we're going to fill that role now or wait until farther down the road here in the summertime. So that's the situation from the mayor's office. There was no report from the finance department. Chief Majoy had a brief report Chief Higgs was absent. I do want to congratulate Chief Higgs. Lieutenant Jordan stepped in for him at the meeting last night. There was no new report from the fire department. However, he did answer a question regarding if you have leftover drugs. There are certain drugs you can bring to the Village Hall and deposit in the safe box in Village Hall. However, things like chemo drugs that are controlled substances and considered hazardous materials, you need to check with your doctor or provider to determine what to do with any leftover medication that is considered a hazardous material. And chemo drugs are one of those things. Mr. Sickles provided a report about some of the projects that are in the queue. Some things to be aware of that likely will start late this year or early 26, actually. Those include sewer separations on Beta and Gamma. That will also include water lines and street repaving. So those are in the works. We're still hunting and trying to get the funding to repave East 52nd Street. We were not successful with doing that this year. We're going to take another crack at it. Council will begin the construction at some point this year of a playground at the end of 54th Street in Brow. We did receive a grant to get some resources to fix the fencing at Kathy Edwards Park. There are several pieces of playground equipment at Kathy Edwards Park that are going to be removed. We have some work to do on the pavilion to preserve that and make sure it continues to be secure. And the upgrades at the dog park have been turned over, and council is starting to work on those. We're ideally hoping to get something done this spring where we have water and potentially a new pavilion and other amenities into that park. All right, so that's kind of the reports from the department heads. Ms. Schickler, the building commissioner, did point out that if you need or have any question about whether you need a permit, call the building department. Don't go to Facebook and ask your neighbors who may not know or just kind of fire off a response. Make sure you check to be sure, because it's better safe to be sorry. Trust me, you're better off paying the $80, $90, $100, whatever the permit may cost, than trying to have a fly-by-night contractor come in, do the work, screw something up, and you have no recourse when it doesn't function the way it's supposed to function. So get that permit. Make sure you've got a registered contractor so that we know that they have insurance. This is protection for you. Yes, it costs a little bit of money, but trust us, it's not going to break the bank on any project, and it is going to provide you a layer of protection that we hope you never actually have to use. So those things are there. Make sure you check with Ms. Schickler. If you own rental property, check with the building department, because rental registrations are due. Rental inspections are coming up. In addition to that, if you're selling your house, make sure that you're getting a point of sale inspection. The term sale is very broad in the eyes of the courts. Sale isn't just you getting money. It may be if you're a private owner and you decide to create an LLC because you're moving out of that house and you want to put it in the name of an LLC, that's a sale. Whether dollars or not exchange hands, that's not the relevant factor. So make sure you check with them. Point of sale inspections help us improve the property values. Newburgh Heights as one of the fastest growing property values in the county. In the last 5 years, by a percentage wise, we have the highest and fastest growing resale value rate in the county over the past 5 years, 6 years now. And a lot of that is because we are insisting on maintenance and ensuring that the projects that are getting done are getting registered with the county. This indicates the county there's a huge amount of development going into the village's housing. Huge amount of investment and resources. It allows us to report those things accurately. In addition, the village still has both grants. Those periods are open again. We have the $5,000 grant that you can secure. It's actually $6,000, $5,000 from the county, $1,000 from the village, as long as you spend $7,000. So you're eligible for a project of $7,000, you can get $6,000 of that free from the village resources that we've acquired from the county. In addition, we have the smaller home maintenance grant up to $1,000. So if you spend $1,000, the village will give you $1,000. You're eligible for 3 of those every 5 years, and then you're eligible for one expanded home maintenance grant, what we call the ARPA grant. You cannot get both the small grant and the large grant in the same year. So if you're going to get the $6,000 grant, you cannot get the $1,000 grant in 2025. Okay. Purchases and approvals. We had the village bought 2 new additional Dodge Durango police cruisers. We've actually started to switch, and this year we made the decision to switch away from the Ford Explorers because there's been a pretty substantial decline in the quality of the Ford Cruiser products. So we wanted to try something else. The police department and the village's mechanic did some research and determined that the Durango seems to be a pretty reliable, good vehicle with very few recalls and problems. So we switched to that. However, when we initially approved the quote back in September of 2024, that approval was about $700 short of what we needed it to be. Council authorized the additional $700 expenditure to buy those 2 vehicles. And make that. The fire department joined the CERT team again for 2025, so that if there's a major event or issue in Newburgh Heights, we have the cavalry will come and help us. And we're actually also exploring the same thing as it relates to SEB, which is the the Southwest Enforcement Bureau for SWAT. So we are looking at that as well. We've been in and out of SEB for years. It is not a direct decision that was made by the swatting incident that occurred on 44th. The determination in the past has been we hadn't had the personnel available to participate. We now think we have that, so we're exploring that. Councilwoman Greora requested approval of $1,000 purchase of $1,000 in gift cards for employee appreciation on behalf of Village Council, so Council could kind of reward employees that are going above and beyond their regular call of duty, and just to basically let them know, look, we do really appreciate the work that they do for us. In addition, Council approved their committee assignments for 2025, and there was a third process or final process related approval, and I'm drawing a complete blank off the top of my head, and the notes I have don't have what that approval was. But if you're concerned, feel free to reach out and we'll get you with that. It was really pretty minor, if I recall correctly. There was some public comment. One of the big things that we wanted to share was 2 things, actually. One, there was a question that came up about, the rate of cancers in Newburgh Heights. We have investigated that. We are looking and still working toward, and it's very, very slow, and roadblocks keep getting in front of us, what this kind of sticky film is that keeps getting deposited on the village. But in addition, we've kind of researched the cancer cluster idea that exists, surrounding Newburgh Heights. There is a slightly elevated cancer rate in parts of Newburgh Heights. However, we don't qualify and wouldn't be close to what would be considered as a cancer cluster, if you will. So yes, there is some cancer that occurs. Unfortunately, it's on par with most of the community. That's my bird saying hi. So just want to let you know he was here. And then we also discussed what we do now is the finance director has a binder where for council meetings, all of the stuff that council's provided that is public record, it's placed in a binder at Village Hall. So in advance of the meeting, the Thursday before the meeting, you're able to come in and review that. And if you decide there's stuff in that binder that you want and want to be able to copy and have copies of, you can do that. You simply ask the one of the two administrative assistants on either the court side or the village side, and they'll make copies for you at 10 cents a copy so that you can have that for whatever purpose you may need. The other traditional public records request process still occur. We found that they just take a little longer because of our staffing. So this is a more immediate way for you to find out what is going to be discussed. And you're welcome to come in and sit in the lobby and look through that binder at any point that you feel comfortable. With that, the meeting started about 6:08, and we actually adjourned at 7:06. So it was about an hour long. There was no executive session. And that's a quick synopsis. As always, my cell phone, you can call or text, is 216-390-2486. And my email is telkins@newburgh-oh.gov. Thanks. That's a quick synopsis of the February 4th council meeting. Went a little over 20 minutes, about 25, but wanted to let you know what we did talk about. Thanks.